I'm Jaclyn Whittal. Today's Science Behind the Weather, we'll talk about sunburn and windburn. What's the difference? Does windburn actually even happen? Let's say on the slopes, you come in with those typical rosy cheeks and you think, I must have a windburn. Let me let you in on a little secret. It's actually a sunburn. Wind can use every day of the year, including the wintertime. For the Weather Network, I'm Jaclyn Whittal.
Brunswick.
Thanks a lot to Nate Coleman, who's in St. John, New Brunswick, but, you know, it was very wet in the Avalon Peninsula and up through St. John's, Newfoundland just a few days ago. Both Nate and I and Chris St. Clair and Mark Robinson were all chasing Gonzalo, and he had mentioned the difference being that it's a much slower system. Definitely agree with that, Nate. But the other thing that's different, too, is that the track of this storm is a typical nor'easter that sort of keeps itself nudged against the eastern seaboard, therefore bringing a whole bunch of moisture with this counterclockwise flow. So a lot of moisture, a lot of cloud and rain, whereas the other system's center was right about here. So a lot of that moisture and wind was still out offshore. So kind of some interesting differences. You're looking at a cloud top image, which is a satellite image of our coldest clouds in the atmosphere and shows us usually where the most rain is typically too. And we talk about rain. These are some updated rain totals. Western Head at 62 mil, Greenswood at 29, St. Stephen at 39, Fredericton picking up 31, and Yarmouth at 38. But this is really, I won't say just beginning, we're about halfway there. The next 6 hours, though, your rain will become more intense, especially down through this area. So Bridgetown, Yarmouth, Lunenburg, and then the wind will also be ramping up as well. So maybe the worst still yet to come, 30 to 60 mil in addition to what you've already seen. And after, as Chris St. Clair's been saying throughout the day, after it moves out, it'll be out of your hair. Now let's go to the West Coast, where it's another big story. We sure will. Thanks, Deb. 131 millimeters in Port Alberni. Vancouver, you've seen wind gusts at 74 kilometers per hour. Abbotsford still could easily get 40 to 60 millimeters, and this is one of a few systems. We'll talk about Tropical Storm Anna and how that affects the West Coast next. Thanks a lot, Deb Mediichka, reporting from Vancouver this time. She's usually stationed in Calgary. We've got you covered both coasts, West Coast rain and, of course, the East Coast nor'easter. Have a look at the nor'easter here. You can certainly see that typical counterclockwise motion and all of that moisture really making an appearance now in Nova Scotia. As Chris St. Clair mentioned, over the next 6 hours, that's when we'll see the heaviest rain and the wind. Take a look at that frontal boundary. That's pushing all the way through, now closing in the the Ohio Valley, I should say. Ultimately, will be in the Ottawa Valley. And then this big area of low pressure here moving through the prairies. That will give you a wind shift. It'll start to cool down your temperatures, although you've been basking in the sunshine and enjoying every minute of it. It'll be a lot cooler by next week. All right. And with our thoughts and prayers with Ottawa, we leave you with this.
But it's going to bring more rain on Saturday.
That's right, Dad. Thanks a lot for your coverage. We have coverage on both coast. We have you covered here at the Weather Network. I'm meteorologist Jaclyn Whittal. Let's get you into the story on the West Coast, just to enhance what Deb was saying there. Port Alberni, 131 millimeters of rain, and those wind gusts just off the coast, 113 kilometers per hour. We had numerous power outages, customers in around 80,000 mark as of yesterday, but that's calmed down. In fact, the storm itself is coming to an end, at least this system, but it's a parade of systems that are lined up. Let's take a look here. Sunday and Monday, and the reason we are is that these two lows you could almost call one big piece of energy. This is the remnants post-tropical storm at that point, Anna. That's the same storm that we've been talking about quite a bit in the Pacific. So mild conditions continue for you in the prairies. Enjoy it until early next week. And then Ontario, it's going to be a gorgeous weekend for you. Stormwatch coverage continues. Lots more on the way.
Are you bringing rain pants when you're heading out to cover that nor'easter? And I thought, rain pants? Why would you bring rain pants? Guys, I totally know what you mean.
There you go. We're here to help. And look at how this has changed, right? The storm hunters are dry, comfortable.
I'm dry, almost well-dressed.
Almost well-dressed. Looking good, Mark. All right, Mark and Jaclyn into not storm hunt today, but talk a little bit about the forecast. So Mark's going to help break some of this down for me. We can see the rain pushing into the East Coast still. These are bands that are just kind of swirling around in that counterclockwise motion. Mark, really the difference between this storm and the hurricane was what, really?
Well, this one is actually a very slow-moving storm. It's come in. It's sort of sitting in that same area. Usually when hurricanes are coming through there, they're moving at a very, very fast rate. They're usually at 70, 80 kilometers an hour, so going past the Maritimes, past Newfoundland. At this point, this one has come in and stopped. Now, keep in mind also, this one is based on the difference between air masses.
That's
where
right.
With our tropical cyclones, they're based on the evaporation of hot water.
That's right, really warm, that magical number of 26 degrees Celsius. And you know, Rachel has said, not just today, but yesterday, it is chilly out there. So that cold air mass certainly working its way through. The heaviest rain looks to be in and around that Lunenburg area. Over the next 6 hours, we are expecting the worst of the storm really to arrive. So that means the wind ramping up to, could be 80K still, 90K maybe.
Yeah.
And then also the rainfall warning still in place.
Yeah,
Mark?
keep in mind also, the highest winds are going to be right along the edge, right along the coast, where the cleanest winds are coming in. As soon as you get inland, you start to deal with frictional effects of trees
Sure.
and buildings and that sort of thing. So you just don't see that wind inland. It's always right along that coast, and of course that's going to drive some big waves in there. So you may see some interesting stuff out there.
Speaking of waves, rain, all of the above, here's Deb Medichka on the west coast tracking that storm. Gusting at 113. But thunderstorms, why are we getting thunderstorms? Just enough instability?
Yeah, you just got enough energy coming in with this system to kick off a few thunderstorms along the edge or along the coast. And of course, as you get into that orographic lift, in other words, that's air coming in and being shoved up the mountains,
right,
you can get some thunderstorms.
All right, and a couple more systems lined up to bash against the mountains as well. We have this one. This is now Saturday, so keeping things a little bit wet. We will start to clear out parts of Sunday, but then it is all about the remnants of Tropical Storm Anna. Mark and I will be back to talk a little bit about how that may affect Canada. That's next.
Of course, our coverage will continue on the Weather Network.
Thanks, guys. A funny story. Mark was actually on the side of the road when we were chasing Gonzalo, borrowing someone's satellite phone to do an interview. Remember that?
Yes. Often when you're in these storms, you have to do what you can to get back to the station.
That's right. Now, tell us real quickly about a few of your memories at Peggy's Cove. You chased a few storms there.
Yeah, Peggy's Cove has been quite interesting. Hurricane Noel's the one that comes to mind. Had some of the biggest waves I've ever seen up to Gonzalo. But this one actually was throwing boulders through into the parking lot at Peggy's Cove. And then, of course, there's Hurricane Arthur, where the car actually got coated in about half a centimeter of salt.
Uh-oh, hopefully it wasn't a car rental.
It was.
Oh, no. Okay. All right, let's take a look here at the radar. You can see the waves. We've enhanced those because the waves are big out there, and you can see them at Peggy's Cove. The heaviest rain actually closer to Montreal at the moment. Halifax getting into some heavy showers. It's a better zoomed-in shot of the radar there. Lunenburg indicating these yellows means, some heavier rain, even some thunderstorms, Mark.
Yeah, of course, when you get that much of a vigorous system going through there, you get just enough punch to give you some thunderstorms. You'll actually see it, same sort of thing in the wintertime with thundersnow. Yeah,
thunderstorms. It's an interesting weather phenomenon. So there's our cloud top. The highest clouds in the atmosphere are indicated in the darker orange colors, usually corresponds to the rain. So rainfall warnings, no shock, St. John, Yarmouth, Lunenburg, but I think the next 6 hours is really when this is going to start to ramp up.
Yeah, no, this one isn't moving very far. That's the big thing. It's just sort of sitting there and dumping huge amounts of rain over a long period of time. So we're not seeing this incredibly vigorous rains. What we are seeing is a long soaking.
All right, and kind of the same story out on the west coast. It's been storm after storm. Deb Medichka tells us more. That's right. Thanks a lot, Deb Medichka, because, Mark, this is only the beginning of a few storms. Could even see remnants of Tropical Storm Anna.
Yeah, this is the big question. Is Anna going to be still something? Now, it looks like it's going to get absorbed into this system. Is this little thing here going to be Anna? Well, it's a tough call. When I'm thinking it's going to be all absorbed, and it's just a little bit of break-off of energy that's heading over towards the west coast.
So maybe some rain, maybe some wind, but nothing like what a tropical storm would bring. Unsettled on the west coast today. Let's take you ahead to some of these temperatures on your Wednesday. Can you believe it? 19.3 in McCreary, 14 in Saskatoon. Get used to the warm stuff because it's not going to go anywhere at least until next week. But look at Calgary, Mark, by Monday. That's a snow. Know that it'll be partly cloudy. And on that note, here's something special we put together. Storm watch coverage continues. Mark Robinson and Jaclyn Whittal in with you this afternoon. We have two storms to talk about. One on the north, or on the east coast, it's a nor'easter, and one on the west coast. About 39 millimeters of rain has fallen in downtown Vancouver already. Let's go live to Deb Medichka. And Deb, it looks like some people are doing some work on the streets right before our eyes. Sure, that's good news. All right, stay dry, Deb.
yeah.
Mark, here's the deal. We still could be easily 40 to 60 millimeters of rain through Abbotsford, down through the island. Less than that, maybe just about 20 millimeters.
Yeah, and of course, it's these systems coming on shore, and of course, at upper elevations, that may turn into the dreaded word snow.
Oh, yuck. Yeah, exactly. And this could be the remnants of Tropical Storm Anna moving in by the beginning of the week.
Yeah, now Anna was the one that went over top of Hawaii, as you remember, and of course, as it's moving towards there, it's bringing a little bit of tropical moisture potentially, so that whole system moving again in towards the coast, and that may bring some winds and rain. We'll see.
Speaking of winds, here's our current wind in Nanaimo, 33-kilometer-an-hour winds out of the south. Okay, where it's really windy, you know all too well. Peggy's Cove. Let's go to Chris Murphy with the latest. All right, thanks a lot, gang. They have some local people helping them out, holding their camera. Wind, rain, all the above. Some of this could really be wrapping up in the next, or not wrapping up, but gearing up, ramping up.
Yeah, ramping up.
In the next 6 hours or so.
Yeah, now, of course, this whole system as it's coming in is very slow moving. That's the big difference between this one and, say, Gonzalo that we saw. Because Gonzalo was moving very fast as it passed by here. This one is sort of stalled out, sort of centers down around the New York region. Of course, it's bringing all that rain up through the Nova Scotia area. I've actually seen some shots tweeted out that there's been some serious flooding.
Yeah.
And some, some winds on there. You can see Chris, poor Chris. It's just the first time he's experiencing something like this, I think.
And we're going to bring back some of those tweets for you. Also, we're going to be talking about Ontario, what a fabulous weekend you have coming up. And the prairies, they've been basking in the sunshine at temperatures around 26 degrees. How long will that last?
Yeah, not too long.
Not too long, no. Okay, here winds 61 in Yarmouth, out of the east or out of the northeast.
Yeah, and of course, again, if you're on the shore, that's where you're going to be feeling those winds. As soon as you're inshore, well up in a little bit of breakout because of trees and buildings,
Friction and,
you're not going to feel it as much.
No, you're not. And let's hope they have some leaves on the trees after this one goes through. So a hurricane and a nor'easter for the East Coast and a juicy one on the West Coast. We'll be back.
East Cove.
I can only imagine. Mark Robinson, you know what it's like to be at Peggy's Cove. You chased a few storms there.
Yeah, I love Peggy's Cove. It's such an iconic spot. It's such a beautiful spot, but the best thing for me, it's a really windy and wavy spot.
Right.
I love being out there.
I've seen you out in the field. He's like a kid in a candy store when he gets to see those waves. I want to show you this. Actually, Mark found this for us on Twitter. This is our courtesy of our friends, the Weather Channel, who retweeted, I think, a Canadian, SSB_WX Ryan. So, Ryan, thank you. Look at this flooding, Mark. This is in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, now this can, of course, happen. We get a lot of water down there, and one of the big issues right now is that water can't go anywhere, especially if your sewer grates and stuff get clogged with leaves. It's a big problem in the fall.
It's an excellent point in the fall. You are bang on, seeing that counterclockwise motion still in that storm. We have storm number 2 in the prairies. Temperatures finally going to be getting back to normal. I know you don't want to hear that because you've been loving the mid-20s. Absolutely fabulous. There's our East Coast storm. It is a nor'easter for a reason because winds are typically out of the northeast most of the time when these systems, make sort of landfall.
Yeah, the strongest winds, because that's why it gets named after the strongest winds. The strongest winds are coming from the northeast like this. And, of course, this whole thing is spinning right here. And that, of course, is dragging a lot of water up onto the shore and, in the form of rain, of course. And they're getting soaked.
They are. All right, thanks. Great work to you as well. Deb reporting for us in Vancouver. She's normally stationed in Calgary. Calgary, you have snow flurries in the forecast for Monday. Don't change the channel. We have more to tell you. Abbotsford, 40 to 60 millimeters of rain still expected. This is why one storm after another, Mark.
Yeah, this is the train of storms coming in, storm after storm. This is the remnants, a little bit of remnants of Hurricane Anna buried in there, or Tropical Storm Anna buried in there. A lot of rain in there. It's going to get wet for them.
All right, and our current winds about 33 kilometers out of the south into Nanaimo. We'll be right back. And we appreciate you joining us on your Thursday. It's been an active weather day right across the country. I'm meteorologist Jaclyn Whittal, and joining me is meteorologist and birthday girl Nicole Karkik. Happy birthday, Nicole.
Thanks so much. Yeah, and we're in storm watch for that. Lots to do, so it's going to be a busy night, a great birthday night at that.
There you go. Maybe you'll have some cake in between doing some TV
Exactly.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what's going on the East Coast. I know you're just sort of joining us for the day, but really, Nicole, it's been much of what we saw yesterday. So some heavy rain amounts, some strong winds for sure in the area. Yarmouth still looking at the rainfall warning, Lunenburg and St. John, and there's the latest SATRAD, Nicole.
Exactly. So steady rain still through the Maritime provinces, around Halifax in particular, an additional 20 to 30 millimeters of rain taking you right into tomorrow. And even though it's going to clear up into tomorrow, the weekend still seeing some on and off showers for areas like Halifax.
Yeah, okay. And then, that's right, another system really moving in from the northwest. So
exactly.
Once this one's gone, another one lined up. Won't bring as much to Newfoundland, only about 20 millimeters, that second system. But But here's what Nicole was just saying. Yeah, a good 30 at least for down through Halifax. Let's show you this. Going to the East Coast any time of year is pretty nice. You know, I went for a vacation before I went and chased Hurricane Gonzalo.
Right.
I was in Massachusetts for a nice family vacation, and they had some heavy rain over the last 24 hours with this nor'easter as well.
And still quite gorgeous, too.
Yeah, it was still quite gorgeous. All right, so rainfall amounts 15 to 30 millimeters up through Newfoundland. Here's what we've seen so far.
Right, Halifax, 11 millimeters of rain so far, but places like Fredericton, 31 millimeters of rain. And keep in mind, there is still more to go, and this is just at 3 p.m. local time.
All right, then here's a track of the system, Nicole. Northeast winds, that's why we call it that nor'easter. And it's going to continue, as you mentioned, right into at least tomorrow afternoon, then finally becoming lighter.
Right, and for you, Newfoundland, if you're wondering what's going on with you, no warnings in place, but we do have St. John seeing heavy amount of rain, but just under that rainfall warning criteria, up to 30 millimeters on Friday.
All right, let's take it to the west coast. Downpours.
Yeah, that's right. You definitely don't want to be driving through that. So closed off streets. We still have rain showers through BC. It is letting up for tomorrow, Jaclyn,
Yeah.
but again, for you on the weekend, another system.
It's a parade of systems, one after
Exactly,
another, and even
exactly.
the number 2 or 3, I think it is the remnants of Tropical Storm Anna.
Exactly.
Of course, which, left a mark in Hawaii. Vancouver picked up 39 millimeters. Port Alberni, I mean, we were forecasting higher amounts there on the island, 138.
Yeah, so impressive there. And this takes us into Friday. So it's going to let up a bit for Friday. Could even see some peaks of sun at times, but hope towards Abbotsford under 20 millimeters of rain and a snowfall warning. Holding up for that.
Just to boot. That's
Exactly.
right. Happy birthday.
Exactly.
Snowfall warnings. Only in Canada. Look how much, too.
Yeah, 10 to 15 centimeters north of Mackenzie. So this is really staying in the northern sections of BC towards the prairie provinces, but just indicative, Jaclyn, of that cold air that's moving into parts of Alberta
You
this
bet.
weekend, Saskatchewan and Manitoba as well.
I know it's hard to believe that they've been in the mid-20s, through the prairies most of the week. Well, it's been so lousy on the East Coast, but it is going to come to an end. I think Calgary, Monday, you have the chance of some flurries, some mixed precip.
Yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed this week with the mild air.
That's right. So we hand things over to Nicole for the rest of the evening. We want to hear from you.
Yeah.